It is God that hath bidden them do it, to try thy faith and patience thereby. Wish them no ill with what they get of thine. It is their wages for their work, and it will appear to them ere long that they have earned it dearly. So we must learn to live upon God, who is invisible. We need tribulation. We need suffering. He says, there is that of God to be seen in such a day as cannot be seen in another. We are apt to overshoot in the days of calm and think ourselves far higher and more strong than we find we be when the trying day is upon us. We could not live without such turnings of the hand of God upon us. We should be overgrown with flesh if we had not our seasonable winters. It is said that in some countries trees will grow, but will bear no fruit, because there is no winter there. Let me beg of thee, he says, that thou wilt not be offended, either with God or with men, if the cross is laid heavy upon thee. Not with God, for He doth nothing without cause, nor with men, for they are the servants of God to thee for good. Take therefore what comes to thee from God by them thankfully. Last point, number 5. Bunyan's sufferings deepened in him a confidence in the Bible as the Word of God and a passion for Bible memory and Bible exposition as the key to perseverance. I'm going to read that again. Bunyan's suffering deepened in him a confidence in the Bible as the Word of God and a passion for Bible memory and Bible exposition as the key to perseverance. If you ask Bunyan, okay, if living on God, who is invisible, is the key to suffering rightly, what's the key to living on God that is invisible? He would answer, living on the Word of God. That's what he would answer. One of the greatest scenes, and you know which one I'm going to, in the Pilgrim's Progress, is the scene of Christian in the dungeon of Doubting Castle, with giant despair guarding and hopeful at his side, making the long overdue discovery. And the thing I want you to listen to as I read it is, where's the key? Where's the key? Listen to the language carefully. What a fool I've been to lie like this in a stinking dungeon when I could have just as well walked free. In my chest pocket, I have a key called promise that will, I am thoroughly persuaded, open any lock in Doubting Castle. Then said Hopeful, that's good news, my good brother. Do immediately take it out of your chest pocket and try it. Then Christian took the key from his chest and began to try the lock of the dungeon door. And as he turned the key, the bolt unlocked and the door flew open with ease, so that Christian and Hopeful immediately came out. Did you ever get that before? This is Bible memory, folks. This is laying up the Word of God in your chest, that you might not sin and that you might get out of Doubting Castle when there's no Bible in your hand. It's too dark in the room. Or they brought you to the hospital and you're waking up and there's no Bible in your hand. You go to your chest. Or if you don't, where do you go? How do you live? How do you survive without the Bible in your chest? Oh, Bunyan loved the Bible. he loved the Bible. He said, I have never had in all my life so great an inlet into the Word of God as now in prison. That's why he didn't begrudge God his suffering. Those scriptures that I saw nothing in before were made in this place and state to shine upon me. Christ also was never more real and apparent than now. Here I have seen Him and felt Him indeed. I have had sweet sights of the forgiveness of my sins in this place and my being with Jesus in another world. I have seen that here, that I am persuaded I shall never, while in this world, be able to express. He loved the promises of God revealed to him in prison. He said, I tell thee, friend, there are some promises that the Lord hath helped me laid hold of, that I would not have out of the Bible for as much gold and silver as can lie between York and London, piled to the stars. You got one? Which one would you pick? I'd pick Romans 8:32. I would not trade Romans 8:32 for all the gold between here and Gaithersburg piled to the stars. Would you? He who did not spare His only Son, but gave Him up for us all, how then shall He not? Let me stick in. Through tribulation and distress and persecution and peril and sword and famine and nakedness, how shall He not through all those things give us all things with Him? Would you trade that for anything? And if not, do you know how rich you are? And what a glorious calling we have to build such priceless commodities into our people. Who'd want to be a stockbroker when you can broker Romans 8:32, for which you wouldn't trade all the gold in Fort Knox? I think I should be done. I'm out of time. But I have one last paragraph here. He so loved the Bible, he said, let me die with the Philistines rather than deal corruptly with the blessed Word of God. I tell you, brothers, doctrine and right interpretation matters. I grieve at Christian leaders today who don't think it matters. Just can't get it. Let me close with this paragraph. You go home to your people now. Go home to your people filled with love for people, filled with love for promises, ready to suffer, filled with love for right doctrine. And you woo your people. You don't beat your people. You woo your people. You got to out-rejoice people. You got to win them up into God where you're enjoying Him. You can't coerce them or lever them. You got to woo them and win them. And here's the way you say it. Bunyan wooing his people. God hath strewed all the way from the gate of hell where thou wast to the gate of heaven whither thou art going, with flowers out of His own garden. He means promises. Flowers out of His own garden. Behold how the promises, invitations, calls, and encouragements like lilies lie round about thee. And then he wouldn't be a Puritan if he didn't add, take heed that thou not tread them under thy feet. That's not a chipper sentence. That's a gloriously true sentence. You say to your people,